And on the other side, I have this, and I know I'm no angel, and I'm okay with that. It doesn't bug me to that extent, but I can see the black and white, the preaching do-gooders who have actually created this issue to start with, and we can't see it, and we don't want to accept that we're part of the problem, and we are the biggest part of the problem. And had we learned to share as humanity, and had we just learned to share the basic principles that we constantly repeat, and like we just were talking about this morning, that a part of our brain knows that, we just can't make it a habit of doing that. And I know I'm going to go back and I'm going to have the car that I have and the other car that I need to drop my kids at school, and I go back to a life. But the thing is, consequences are going to be harsh now, and we felt it, we've seen it. I have a feeling it's not far behind with other countries. So, at the end of the day, what is it about? Everything is busted, everything is gone. You can't even see it for you to feel bad about it because it doesn't exist any longer. But the consequences will still be felt by the poorest of them all first. So by the time it really hits us, it'll probably be the end of the world, because, we always have resources that we can always preserve our sanity, preserve ourselves. And yet so many human beings get wasted. And when Kevin was talking about how, and my father repeats that, how entire universe was created to create a human body. And in my religion it states in the Quran that if you kill man, and this is the fundamental principle of Islam and Muslims, if you kill one man, you have killed humanity. And I was also sharing the same thing today, that I saw Gandhi's line, "Be the change you want to see in the world," on Monsanto's website. We laughed about it. But how do you take the most beautiful thing and put it to justify the most violent of things? I mean, in my own religion, people have done it for a religion where God said you cannot hurt one more than a certain degree. And the justification of war and everything, if you read the Quran, is totally opposite to what we are doing. And we are justifying it under that name, and it kills me that and the whole world has bought it. And yet all you have to do is open the book and say, "But oh my God, it states this." So yeah, here we are, part of the cosmos, and how many billions of years, and we treat each other like that, and that's me. With all the goodness that I want to take out, I have not been able to stop something like that from happening right under my nose.
So it's not God, it's us.
It's not God. When it's a question that many people ask, and God gave us choice. The difference between animals and human beings, and I love those lines of my father. He said that human beings are given the freedom to deny the Creator, but nothing would happen to them because they have to feel the consequence of their own actions. That's the kind of freedom we have. We are a species with immense freedom, but very little sense of responsibility. And that shames me more. Spatulas? Egg beaters?
Huma, can you say more? Because you make such a strong point in the film about education and craft centers, and it would be interesting if you wanted to talk more about maybe places where, if there are examples in Pakistan where those resources have been available and it's made a difference, or if you know of anything.
They have. Everywhere where there are. We all know youth has unbound energy. What do you do with energy? I've gone to places where majority of the youth freaks out because you guys have the pleasure of walking out in the evening, go to a pub, get together with other people. There's music, there's entertainment, you go catch a film, or you just meet with friends. In certain areas of Pakistan that there is nothing except a home, and then the bare mountains. And when the war started in Afghanistan, a lot of the people on the left side, because they were young boys with dreams and things, and if Hollywood turns us on, there was a Hollywood happening live in Afghanistan. People went in. And then people with no exposure, no investment in their lives, have nothing to lose. It's fun. Boys were running around picking up planes which were crashed, taking the metal and excited. They were like, "Oh, we can sell this for scrap." I mean, life is there was this other movie, and I can't remember, Tina Turner's movie with, what's his name? You convert, there is a base side to us. And if you don't feed and nourish the beautiful side of the human beings, you revert back to the base side. It's just our instinct, it's built in. And in places in the cities, it's a different issue of justice and equity. Those are issues of the disbalance in the earth, the fact that the same leadership has dual standards. And so there's another fight going on. But then a lot of people who have nothing to do with the philosophy of it all just going to have a good time. It's like a football match happening. And I kid you not, that is exactly. I've been to Chaman and I've seen the borders and I've seen these boys and I said, oh my God, if I was a boy here, I would be out there running after and looking for excitement on the other side. Because war is exciting. And if you die, so what? I mean, when you young blood and energy, life is, what do you have to lose? You had nothing to start with. And life becomes important for people. And then philosophy comes in, and that's later on. And the world is unjust and unfair, and it has been for so long, and anybody who's alive can see it. And when you're angry, you take things in your own hand. If you don't get justice in places, you literally take things in your own hand. And I remember post 9/11 also, there were cries of, you came and you blasted us, we'll come and blast you and your entire generation. That is the anger that the other side had been feeling for years. So I don't justify violence, but it's happening and unfolding. And there comes a time where it's not about justification or it's not about right and wrong. It's about how do you stop it. And we're just failing as a world. We're absolutely failing. The sheer disregard to climate change, it's in our face. But we are failing to recognize it. Till it literally maybe rips our homes apart and takes our kids away. That's not fair. Every human life is important, just as the other. And because we don't do that and show that in our actions, human beings tend to hate each other. I mean, I see that too often within Pakistan. The urban centers of power are perceived as the US. In the region, when I look at it, India is perceived as the US, as the big boy who doesn't behave nicely with its neighbor. Then you look at the globe and then we keep complaining about the other superpowers, but we do exactly the same thing when we have power. I'm from the province which is the most, it has all the resources, the army is from there, a very rich province, and the other provinces say exactly the same thing we say to our other, it's like, oh my God, they sound the same. So it's about how you abuse of power, nothing else. You get the seat and something happens to you.
Huma, can I share something? Yes. Because from your video, it's brought me back to when tsunami hit Thailand. And because now we have the flood as well, which is not violent and heavy or big like in Pakistan, but at least half of the country. But I remember being in the cities at New Year's, people get ready for party, and then tsunami hit. I remember talking to people in the city, and what we always say is that we were numb. We don't know what to do because this bad thing happened. But later, 6 months, 8 months later, what we learned and we're so proud of is that right after the tsunami hit, 5,000 people drove their car to where it's happening and start helping. No one's killing at each other. No one throwing water at each other. It's the same thing you said, that when disasters happen, it just wash away something and make you see what's real on the ground. So after that, I travel a lot. I always, when I was young, I saw US as the better country, better everything, and we have to follow. But when tsunami happened, what I learned is that what made country strong, what made mankind strong, it's not about money, it's not about GDP. It's the structure, it's a people, it's a connection that when something happens, no matter how bad it is, people still have helping each other. And we learned so much on how to help. After the tsunami, I was so happy that we learned that the Muslim, because it happened in the south and lots of Muslims, they don't like when you give them old clothes. They will not accept it. Things like that. So, and I sometimes I'm happy that
small disasters happen, I feel like that disaster gonna prepare us for the bigger one. That's gonna test us even more. And I think we better be prepared. I tell the young people I work with every single day that our generation gonna face more and more disasters, and we better be prepared. There's no time left to fight.
But I want to ask you one thing. When more and more disasters happen, we had the earthquake, and somebody from the UN reported that when earthquake happened, people leave the cities. But when the earthquake happened in Pakistan, the entire country reverted back into the same center where there was earthquake. People were picking boulders with their hands. The spirit, even in Pakistan, of when disaster happens, what doesn't maybe come through here is that government might not be there, but private sector, public, nations, everybody was there. But the more we see, the more we become numb as well. There is a part of us that keeps dying with every... It keeps bringing us closer, but it keeps taking away something also. And we become something that I haven't figured out what. But we've now had 3 in a row. So, and so close that you can't even recover from one before the other one hits you. So it deadens you, and yet it brings out the other side. And I don't know, how do you train yourself to make sure that this one is ignored and this one is brought up? But I do question that, and I'm trying to figure out what's going to happen. If we see more of them, maybe we'll come to a point and just say, preserve yourself and get out, because there is a tendency to do that. But I know, I mean, Pakistani by nature will just leave everything, even his family, and just go and help somebody in trouble. And that we saw that time and time again, but I don't know for how long.
That makes me think of the personal resiliency or the personal human ability to keep responding to these ways. So I think that's one of the beautiful and difficult parts of being a human is we adapt. And so we're adapting to these major disasters happening again and again and again. And one of the ways of adapting is to cope, but another way is like, oh, well, I've seen that before, so I'm not going to help this happens. And that it's one of our downfalls as well. So keeping that ability alive.
But Edie, I do fear sometimes that disasters like this, more of them, in places simultaneously, and then not necessarily the one disaster will only happen in one place. Multiple can happen. I mean, what's going to happen to all of us? We see it in Independence Day, things like that, but it's like unbelievable. What good was all our intelligence? Superior human race. Can't see it coming. It's so close, you can smell it.
Just read an article on the airplane about how people respond and how Hollywood depicts people in disasters screaming, pushing people out of the way, but that in reality, the way the research plays out, and they showed this quite extensively at 9/11, was that people actually turn into social beings in those situations. And in the World Trade Center, apparently way more people became social units, helping one another to get out of the building rather than the people that, jumped over or knocked over people. And so there is a human, they were proposing this idea that there is something in the brain that actually causes people to become social units in times of disaster or those types of things. Which is, gives us a little hope, I think, through. And I'm disagreeing. There's a tipping point. It can only take so much. I'm sure.
So, young man, sorry about that. Just don't want to think about the new generation.